If you thought Richard Childress Racing's 2009 was a wild ride, buckle up. Seriously, pull those belts tight and make sure your torso is secure in that seat. If you're watching this from home, all I gotta say is clench tight to that armrest. Because the Robert Yates Racing team in 2009 was a special kind of crazy that'll make for a good 15 to 25 minute watch, whatever runtime this ends up being. Enjoy, because boy, this is a good one. So for the team led by the Yates family, father Robert Yates and son Doug Yates, their two-car operation wasn't to the levels as it was back in the day, but still the 38 and 88 teams were competitive in a booming NASCAR Cup Series garage. Over the past few years, Elliott Sadler emerged as the team's torchbearer driving the 38 car sponsored by Mars Chocolates. This 2004 season was a breakout one, which saw Sadler win 2 races and qualify for the inaugural chase for the Cup. Many in the Cup garage saw this guy as a future superstar, but it was evident he and Todd Parrott were still championship pretenders. After a 6th place finish at Sonoma, Elliott Sadler ranked 3rd in the NASCAR Cup Series points with just 10 races remaining until the chase. That was even ahead of eventual champ Tony Stewart and superstars named Gordon, Kenseth, and Earnhardt Jr. What ensued next was one of the worst summer slumps in NASCAR Cup Series history. Sadler would score no top 10s and 5 finishes 20th or worse to end just 1 spot short of qualifying for the postseason. Filling the second Robert Yates entry, the brown and orange number 88 UPS Ford Taurus happened to be the crafty veteran Dale Jarrett. While he combined for just 2 wins over the past 3 seasons, he was still a driver that could get results and remain competitive alongside the rising youngsters Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, and Kasey Kahne. Albeit he himself climbed into a chase position with 7 races to go, which would see his team derail in the month of August. The next 5 races were so bad, Jarrett wouldn't score a top 20 finish, which would ultimately end his and the 2005 chase hopes for Robert Yates Racing. Dale Jarrett would score his 32nd career victory at Talladega, but for Robert Yates Racing, 2005 was a disappointment. This team expected to be championship contenders, and I mean, why wouldn't they? You have the winning pedigree of Robert Yates, and you have 2 drivers and 2 stable race teams. Changes were needed if the team were to have championship ambitions for the 2006 season. In December of 2005, it was announced Richard Labbe, better known under the nickname Slugger, would crew chief the 88 team of Dale Jarrett. In his endeavors with Evernham Motorsports the year before, he led the 19 team of Jeremy Mayfield to a win at Michigan and a chase appearance. Paired with Jarrett's veteran prowess, Labbe was seen as the answer to keeping competitive and potentially qualify for his first chase for the Cup. As for Elliott Sadler, Yates would pair him up with Tommy Baldwin Jr. He was also a refugee from Evernham Motorsports, having spent the past 2 years with rising star Kasey Kahne. His performance, you can say, was very Jekyll Hyde. Tommy Baldwin Jr. brought out the speed in the red number 9 Dodge Charger, with Kahne leading an impressive 1,122 laps in his first 2 seasons. There was no question that Baldwin Jr. could bring out the horses on race day. The problem here was the consistency. This was the main problem with Kasey Kahne's sophomore season, as despite the win, it was an awful sophomore campaign. Kahne scored just 8 top 10s on the year and finished on average 7 positions worse than he started. Robert Yates right here was banking heavily on the inconsistencies of 2005 being a fluke, and that Baldwin's ability to get speed out of these cars would result in many, many wins. When speaking about this move, Yates general manager Eddie DeHaan thought highly of the move and praised the experience of both Slugger Labbe and Tommy Baldwin Jr. Both Slugger and Tommy have had success in their past endeavors with other teams in the Nextel Cup Series. We've been aggressive in the offseason. It is our goal to get both of our teams in the chase for the championship in 2006. We are really pleased with the staff we put together and delighted to have Slugger and Tommy on board. Some other notable changes saw Kevin Buskirk, the guy who replaced Todd Parrott as the crew chief for Elliott Sadler to end the season, would be named as the team's new technical and performance director. Ed Guzzo, who was once a chief mechanic for the championship-winning 2014 with Jeff Gordon, would be added as the production and operational director. So with an aggressive offseason in the books, it was time to start the team's 23rd season in the NASCAR Cup Series. To open up the season at, you guessed it right, Daytona, the changes paid off in a big way for Robert Yates. His two cars unloaded fast off the truck, with Jarrett and Elliott Sadler placing 3rd and 4th respectively in Daytona 500 qualifying. Sadler would then dominate his duel race by leading 36 laps on his way to victory. As for the main event, Yates would place both its cars in the top 10, with Elliott Sadler scoring his best finish in the 500 since he was the first loser to Ward Burton in 2002. Jarrett meanwhile would round out the top 10. So far, so good for Yates. So through the first month of the new season, Yates didn't do anything spectacular, but they didn't have any catastrophes to this point. Both Sadler and Jarrett, they weren't up their leading laps, but they could consistently finish top 20 at least, and both were close to the chase cut line. Howbeit, sometime during the spring, the team lost its new technical and performance director. Kevin Buskirk left his role at Yates to become an engineer for Kevin Harvick's number 29 team at Richard Childress Racing. Couldn't quite find out why he left. Possibly, this early in the season, maybe he just got a better job opportunity at RCR and decided to leave house, or just maybe he didn't fit into the Yates system and the two sides decided the best path was to go their separate ways. Also, the silly season tsunami would begin to swirl around Robert Yates, specifically Jarrett, who is in a contract year along with primary sponsor UPS. During a rain delay at Bristol, Jarrett shared his tentative plan, which was to race 2 more years at Robert Yates Racing and then after that retiring from racing altogether. Things are pretty good that I'll be where I'm at through that time, Jarrett stated. A bit less pressure for the team, but of course nothing was set in ink just yet. As for Elliott Sadler and the championship ambitious 38 team, they felt some strong disappointment in the way they were running as the season hit April and progressed into May. As a whole, the team was decent. The 38 over-the-wall team won the weekly Checkers and Rallies Double Drive-Thru Challenge twice during the spring for its performances at Martinsville and Talladega. Sadler was also able to win the pole award at Talladega, but after that, the team had some notable holes that needed to be fixed. They couldn't consistently lead laps or get top 10 finishes. In fact, outside of Daytona, their only top 10 finish was a 6th place at Martinsville. Considering the preseason hype and the bar GM Eddie DeHaan had set for this team, they were underachieving. A rumor even popped up on April 28th that Elliott Sadler was getting fed up and wanted out of Yates, one that was quickly shut down by the man himself. You can't just change a team overnight. It's going to be a long process. I'm here to stay at Robert Yates. I can't see myself going anywhere. Despite the shortcomings, through the first quarter of the season, Jarrett was in the final chase spot, and Elliott Sadler was not too far behind in 13th. They were on par with the results from 2005, and once the team got going, you just assumed they would be in the thick of the championship fight well into September. Still, for Robert Yates Racing, the silly season tsunami was getting bigger with more and more rumors about Jarrett's future with the team. And now the mill was swirled with news of Jarrett racing for teams other than Yates. He was often linked with new manufacturer Toyota, who was offering a big contract to the 1999 Cup Series champion, one that Ford reportedly countered. It was clear everyone at Robert Yates Racing wanted him back, including his teammate Elliott Sadler. If he stays, that's great. I would love to keep him as a teammate and love to keep him at Robert Yates Racing. He and the team would not be granted that wish. On May 13th, 2006, Jarrett publicly announced that he would join the Michael Waltrip Racing team for the 2007 season. During his press conference, he expressed his gratefulness for Robert Yates and Ford. My tenure at Robert Yates Racing has been extremely important to me, my family, and my career. We accomplished a lot together during the past 12 years, and I am thankful to Robert and everyone at RYR and Ford Motor Company for the opportunities they afforded me and the success we have all shared. Although the pressure around Jarrett's future was finally off of Yates' shoulders, the 2006 season was officially now a lame duck one for the 88 team. In fact, a week before the all-important announcement, the 88 team found itself in some deep trouble with NASCAR before the start of the Richmond race. The team violated the NASCAR rulebook with an unapproved rear sway bar mounting. NASCAR reacted swiftly a few days later and penalized Dale Jarrett 25 driver points, Robert Yates 25 owner points, and crew chief Slugger Labbe received a $25,000 fine and suspended until June 7th. The team made an attempt to appeal the penalty, but it was upheld, with now Labbe's suspension getting pushed back a week due to the appeal. Now, as an owner that wanted to win and win the right way, Robert Yates made it clear that he would fire anyone that was caught cheating. Thus, Slugger Labbe, after the penalty, offered to resign from his position as the 88 crew chief. However, Yates ended up rejecting this proposition and supported Labbe, while also making it very clear to him that he was in the gray area of the NASCAR rulebook. Still, Robert Yates would end up firing a prominent figure during that same month. On Tuesday, May 23rd, Yates Racing officially fired GM Eddie DeHaan. No, it didn't have anything to do with this. The team, disappointed with its performance, felt a new steering of the ship was needed. Eddie did a good job with us, but this is our company, and Robert and I have decided we need to get our arms around our company. We're not happy with where we're at as a race team. At the very least, it was confirmed around this time that Elliott Sadler was good at Yates through 2008, although he did have an opt-out clause in his contract. Still, yet again, Elliott Sadler voiced publicly his plans to race at Yates long term. I plan to come back. I think it's my duty. I love my sponsor. They take care of me very well. I've loved working with Robert and Doug, and they have pretty much taken the company back in their arms and their control, and they want to make things happen. However, without the team GM, it would be evident over the next month how much lack of direction was happening at the top. Dale Jarrett, who found himself 2 points outside the chase cutoff after his Richmond penalty, would plummet out of contention without his primary crew chief. His 43rd place finish in the Coca-Cola 600 saw him complete 0 laps and result in his worst ever finish. Elliott Sadler wouldn't fare too much better, finishing 4 laps down, scored in the 30th position. This team didn't look like the 2-time 600 winners they were, and far from the performances of Davey Allison in 1991 and Jarrett himself in 1996. With 20th and 22nd place finishes at Michigan from Jarrett and Sadler respectively, Yates went 5 straight races without a finish above 20th. It would be broken thanks to back-to-back top 10 finishes by Elliott Sadler, but it was clear in June that this team was quickly becoming a lost cause. The Yates cars continued to struggle on the tracks longer than 1.5 miles. Up to this point, the only Yates top 10 finish at a track not under 1.5 miles or at a restrictor plate track was Jarrett's 9th place effort at Atlanta in March. It was evident with the finishes and their time trials in qualifying that they needed help on intermediates. In fact, team owner Jack Roush even offered to help revive Yates in any way he could. For the Chicagoland race, Yates ended up buying a Roush chassis for Elliott Sadler. Even that didn't help out this Yates team, with the number 38 M&M's Ford Taurus qualifying 29th and finishing the race in 32nd. And of course, this wouldn't be a brand new month without more rumors about Elliott Sadler wanting to leave the team. This time, Robert Yates came out and said, "That's not what he's telling me. That's all I can really say. I guess the grandstand can start speculating anything. So far, he hasn't communicated that with me yet." I think it's pretty clear he isn't leaving Yates, gosh damn it. In fact, Elliott Sadler and Yates were chosen to grace the cover of the new EA Sports game NASCAR 07. There's just no way Sadler is going to bail despite being ranked 20th in points with just 7 races until the chase field is set. July 20th, 2006. It turns out the press were right all along to cause all this noise, as Robert Yates Racing announced that Elliott Sadler would be granted his release at the conclusion of the 2006 season. We would like to thank Elliott for his commitment to our organization over the past 4 seasons and for all the success we've enjoyed together. The team's goal was to now focus on ending the season on a high note, but at this point, Yates Racing, it's easy to say, was a tire fire. The team's hopes and ambitions in February were crushed, and this team spiraled further and further out of control. Dale Jarrett and the 88 team went into a full meltdown. At one point, Slugger Labbe almost got into a fight with one of his crew members after a slow pit stop costed Jarrett track position. It got so ugly, NASCAR officials reportedly had to intervene. The communication between Jarrett and the team was poor, and reportedly the blame game was going on throughout. Eventually, after race 20 of the season, Slugger Labbe left the team following the 88th 11th consecutive finish, 20th or worse. Butch Hilton would take over as interim crew chief and would end the top 20 drought at 14 with a 15th place finish at Bristol. Jarrett would wrap up the regular season 24th in the standings. The 38 team, meanwhile, continued to be a bag of M&Ms melting away on a hot summer day. Tommy Bowen Jr. ran for the door after race 20. Elliott Sadler's 9th finish, 20th or worse in the past 10 races. Cully Baraclough would get welcomed into the NASCAR Cup Series with a wreck on lap 3 and a dead last place finish. He and Sadler would rebound the next week for a 7th place finish, but at this point none of this mattered. Elliott Sadler was well out of chase contention, and both he and Yates were just wasting their time still together. Fortunately, a vacancy would open up on a team Elliott Sadler had talked to once he was confirmed he was out of Yates after this season: Evernham Motorsports. Jeremy Mayfield was fired from the team in August, and once the 19 became available, Yates granted him his release, Sadler cleaned out his locker room, and that was it for the driver that was supposed to be the new face of the team. His final numbers show just that, a lot of lost hope. Many of these numbers were carried by that one beacon of light in 04, which was quickly dimmed out by the train wreck of a season that was 2006. Sadler's departure officially cleared the way for the new driver Yates signed for 2007, David Gilliland, a guy that won his way on the team because guess what? He won a Busch race, that's it. Todd Parrott, meanwhile, would join the team after departing Petty Enterprises and a struggling Bobby Labonte. So at the very least, they would have a lot more to race for in the last 14 races than just the sponsors and maintaining a spot in the top 35. And now a lot of the drama was out of the way. David Gilliland would get his first taste at the Cup Series and develop under Todd Parrott. It should be no surprise Gilly didn't set the world on fire like he did at Kentucky earlier in the year. The best he did was a 15th at both Atlanta and Talladega, where, believe it or not, the 38 Yates team would sweep the Talladega Polo Awards for 2006. As for the 88, Dale Jarrett would have one more strong run with the team with an impressive finish in Kansas. The UPS team would execute strategy to deliver Jarrett his lone top 5 of his swan song season at Yates. With the 2006 Ford 400 seeing Jarrett and Gilliland finish 31st and 33rd respectively, this nightmare of a season was finally over, thank goodness. They began the season with high hopes and confidence that they would be championship contenders. They would end the season with its new franchise face on another team, their championship winning driver on his way out, both crew chiefs well out the door, the general manager starting up his own race team, and their technical and performance director working for RCR. UPS also left as a full season primary sponsor. Yates would see Mars Chocolates pick up the void and field an entry for Ricky Rudd in 2007, but this team was clearly not the same. The 2006 season is what killed Yates Racing, and it is easy to see why. They had a lot of confidence in their drivers, their cars, and personnel, and instead, everything just collapsed in a very, very quick way. It's hard to really pinpoint what caused it. Maybe it was Jarrett leaving, maybe it was firing Eddie DeHaan mid-season, maybe it was the penalty, or maybe it was even Kevin Buskirk leaving back in March. All I know is, in my years of doing videos, I have never seen a team collapse quite like this. So anyways, this is NRF signing out. And just remember, life's a beach and then you drive.